Recognizes Mr. Keating.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the Gold Star family's here. As a Gold Star family member, my uncle being killed in action, thank you for being here. Condolences are your loss, and gratitude, eternal gratitude for the great sacrifice and courage of those we loved. When I was first elected, I visited our troops right away in Iraq, then in Iraq. And I came upon a Marine, and I asked him, you know, in conversation, what his opinion was of the war at that stage. And he looked at me and told me one of the most important lessons I learned. He said, well, sir, I'm here to serve. Those kind of decisions and those questions you're asking, well, those are yours. Those are political decisions. And I think what we have this morning, in effect, is a little bit of the replay of that conversation. We're asking two generals I deeply respect and thank for their service to comment on political decisions that thrust on them. And much of what we have should be turned around. We should be out there, and maybe they should be up here asking the questions. But nevertheless, it's where we are. I just want to comment on one title of this hearing, and that's the fact that the last section of that is the Taliban takeover. This is like a sequence that's there. I just want to correct. Not one decision led to the Taliban takeover. And many of the decisions we had here clearly wouldn't have resulted in the Taliban not taking over. Is that correct, General Milley?
I think, as I mentioned several times already, there's a series of strategic decisions that set the conditions, and those decisions are made over the course, frankly, of 20 years. And then, of course, there's a series of decisions at the end that impact this very specific withdrawal and NEO. But yes, it's the cumulative effect of multiple decisions.
I couldn't agree more, and that's the way we should view this. Although I think there was a linchpin to today's testimony that helped underscore something, too, as we're looking at things. That's when General McKenzie was talking about the fact that keeping 2,500 more troops at Bagram Air Force Base could have been helpful, assuming the Afghans stay in the fight. And one of those key decisions, frankly, that got us to where we were at the end of this was the decisions that surrounded the Doha agreement in that sense. Now, General Milley, I mean, I think one of the critical things was excluding the Afghans from those discussions. Could you comment on that at all?
Well, I mean, it's a historical fact that the Doha agreement was made between the United States and the Taliban. It's a bilateral agreement. The intent was, and you'd get a better answer out of Ambassador Khalilzad or Secretary of State Pompeo, but I think the intent there was for that to occur, the U.S.-Taliban negotiation, in order to set the framework for an Afghan-to-Afghan negotiation. And the Afghan-to-Afghan negotiation never happened, and there was supposed to be a reduction in violence, and then a ceasefire, then Afghan-to-Afghan negotiation.
And former Ambassador John Bass said our main policy efforts didn't reinforce each other. They were contradictory. They were contradictory signals amplified by President Trump's periodic statements supporting rapid force reductions, and taken all together, they undermined the Afghans' confidence in the U.S. security. I mean, that was a critical point as well. But we could point to so many critical points in this whole process. This is a 20-year look back, which we should. We're looking back to learn lessons. This is a 20-year look back, and, you know, 4 different administrations, 2 Republican, 2 Democrat, 2 decades. These are decisions that culminated in the final occurrences that occurred, and that's the way they should be viewed. We can dissect them. We can go back and classify it after this and learn more in detail, but we're going to learn this, that we're working for the one thing I think any family member would want, so that no other American family has to go through what they went through. It's important to look back at the past, but it's important to look for the present. Here's my final point. I can't sit here on March 19th knowing what's going on in Ukraine now, knowing that we have an Article 5 responsibility and that Putin has put in his sights NATO countries as the next target after he gets through with Afghanistan, with Ukraine, rather. So I just ask everyone here on this side, the political side, when we have a supplemental ready to give support to the Ukraine government, we must act on it now, because failure to do that will jeopardize in the future the lives of other brave American men and women who are there under a treaty of Article 5 to defend our word in this world and defend democracy in Europe, the same democracy that my uncle died for. So I hope and just implore everyone here, put the bill on the floor for a vote. The present is important, the future is important, and saving the lives of courageous young American men and women is important. I yield back.
I agree with that assessment. Chair recognizes